Welcome to episode number 2 of What Do We Do? The show where we're going to be analyzing poker hands together and trying to learn and grow as poker players. In episode number 1, I gave you a scenario and I asked for your feedback. The idea was that then I'm going to share it in this episode, what you guys said. We'll analyze the spot and I'll give you the reveal of what actually happened in the hand. Then I'm going to give you the setup for hand number 2. We'll discuss that in episode number 3. You can give me your thoughts at the end of this video as to what you would do in hand number 2. Let's get into hand number 1 from last week. I'll give you a quick recap, not as in-depth as last week, but just to give you an idea of what the hand was. As we're waiting for the game to start, I'm talking with the table, and especially the guy to my right, who seems like a very charismatic guy, and he's telling me about how he just finished losing a bunch of money at a bigger game and is now stepping down into this one. We get a few hands in, and I end up raising when he straddles the button with ace-7 suited to $35, and it calls all the way around to the button, who makes it $180.
No bomb pot. 180.
Then the question was, what are you going to do when the action's back on you? So let's get into the feedback here. The feedback that most of you gave in this spot was just fold. It's an easy fold. Like, you don't need to be in there. I think that's totally fine and reasonable, and I don't think that's a bad line at all. However, a couple of you had some other feedback, analyzed it maybe a little bit more, or gave a little bit more feedback anyway. Whether your analysis was deeper or not, I don't know, but gave some more feedback as to the options, and I want to share a couple of those with you because I think they're really good. Let's get into those, starting with Ben, who had these things to say. Hey, initially, I'm just going to fold this one. I'm not going to raise it. Fine. Yep, I agree that you don't need to be raising a hand like this. There's a little more dead money, but you are taking on a super out of position, and so yes, you don't have to go for this one. Now, that being said, I think a jam actually has a lot of merit, as the button seems capable of a light squeeze. He's used to bigger games, he's used to big action, and he's probably thinking, hey, I can kind of bully these people that aren't used to playing with bigger stakes and a lot more money in front of them. I totally agree with you there. I think that's absolutely correct. So now the question is, are we going to jam? If we do jam, what's going to happen? It's going to be difficult for him to call if he doesn't actually have premiums, because we're making a huge play. And if he was out of line at all, does he really want to risk his entire chip stack now that I'm showing a ton of aggression? So really good stuff. And Ben says at the end, I think overall this is going to be a lot of variance, but a positive EV play. I'm going to tend to agree with you. Good thoughts, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate the comment. So let's now go on to Jess, and Jess had some good things to say. Jess knows me well. We've played some poker together, and I love what he has to say here. Once this happens, I see what you see, but do I have the guts to pull the trigger? Most often when you get all in, you get folds from the callers. I agree with that. You open in the earliest position and then 4-bet. So the primary opponent then, when the action gets back to them, is probably going to be folding things like ace-8 or ace-10. You're going to get a huge win here when all those hands fold. It's close to the first hand, so the question is, does he actually have it? Or is he just like, hey, I can bully this table? They don't really, they're not used to playing like I play. And I think that's more likely the case, which Jess agrees. But what I really like here is that Jess points out, what's the tilt like? What's the tilt situation for this player? That wasn't really in my head, but at the moment at least. But I think it's a really good point, because I wasn't thinking about tilt from that table. He seemed pretty calm. But even when you seem fairly calm, you're stepping down into maybe a more comfortable environment. If you've just dusted off a ton of your stack at another, like a huge amount of your bankroll at another game, even if it was a day or two ago, you might still be tilted from that. Like that, if it was a significant enough loss, which my opponent said was a very substantial loss, if that was the truth, that is a huge amount of bankroll, and it's probably going to keep you on tilt for a while. So Jess, really good thoughts there. I wasn't thinking about tilt being an option and that he's just trying to steal the money for that reason. Then I love this line that Jess said, I may not have the guts to pull the trigger, but I think you do. So now let's go on. He says he's looking forward to the reveal. So let's talk about what the reveal is. So in this spot, it comes back around to me. I did not jam, I did not call, and I did not fold. What I ended up doing is I went for the raise, but I went for it at a smaller size, and I'll try to explain to you why. I think if I'm holding pocket aces right there, I can jam. That's fine. But I'll be more than happy to make a small raise that kind of commits your stack and then jam, right? So I'm willing to go to something like 375, which is what I did. Now, when you go to 375, it looks strong for multiple reasons. Number one, I'm out of position and I'm re-raising. Number two, it looks like I have aces and I'm just trying to kind of beg you to come along, like, hey, stick around, come see a flop with me. Kind of an interesting spot in that way. The other dynamic is most players coming into a 2-5 game, at least for me, if I see them 4-betting, I'm not giving them ace 7 suited. I'm not giving them ace 5 suited. Most people won't get out of line and bluff with a 4-bet in these smaller stake games. I think until you get up to 5-10 and higher, you're unlikely to see many bluffs as a 4-bet. So the 4-bet looks strong. It gives the impression of just a general population that most people aren't willing to do this. So it looks strong in that sense. And then it's also the stack to pot ratio. If he does make the call, says you're committing your entire stack. So I went for that line instead. It's not necessarily a jam, but it's a similar line. And he ends up just folding. He said that he had Jack 10 offsuit. I didn't tell him right away that I had ace 7 suited till we played some more hands, but later on in the session told him it was ace 7 suited. I cannot wait to share that session with you. It's going to be a great vlog. I'm working on several episodes from that trip to Vegas, and I believe it's day 4. Anyway, one of the days in there, it's coming up. I'm doing a ton of editing. I'm trying to get these out and then still work on the vlogs. So it's going to be a little bit, but I can't wait to share that one. It's an absolute blast of an episode. So now the way the format works, I'm going to give you hand number 2. And at the end of this, you can give me your comments on this decision point and even the hand, up to this point if you don't like something in it or whatever. And then let's talk about it in the next episode. So hand number 2 goes like this. For hand number 2, we're at the MGM playing 2-3, which by the way, I would not have gone to the MGM if it wasn't for you guys. I put out a casino rankings video a year and a half ago, maybe something like that. And just was explaining what rooms I like and what I care to do. And you guys said, play the MGM. It's really great. It didn't make my list because I don't think it's that great of a room, or in my experience, it hadn't been. But because so many people had positive things to say, I went back and I was surprised. It was actually quite good. All right, so for the last hand, we had ace 7 suited. But for this hand, we have aces 7 suited. We have the same hand. Ace 7 suited, and it happens to be in spades as well. This is not my favorite hand. It's not a pet card, like a pet hand or anything that I have to play. It just happens to be 2 interesting spots with the same exact cards. So what happens here is that there's an open under the gun to $10. We're playing 2-3. It comes back around to me. We're deep enough that I can just toss in the call here. There hasn't been a ton of 3-betting so far, so I'm going to go ahead and toss in the call. It gets around to the small blind, who makes it $30. Under the gun folds. This is a really small 3-bet, and we're deep enough that if I make the flush in position, I can probably get a fair amount of my stack in there, so I'm going to go ahead and make the call. We go off to the flop, where I flop middle pair. Now this board really isn't good for a 3-better out of position, 9-7-6. He goes ahead and checks, and I'm going to bet my second pair because all of his Broadway cards, all of his ace king, ace queen, ace jack, all that stuff, they're not really happy to see this flop. They don't have a piece of it, and so I go ahead and bet 25. He does toss in the call. We go to the turn, which is the 4 of clubs. He checks again. This doesn't really change anything. I have tons of the nutty combinations here, so I go ahead and make it $65. He calls again. We go to the river, which is the king of spades, and he checks. So here's the decision point. We now have third pair. He's checked to us 3 times, and he's called both times. We haven't been check raised. What are you going to do with the river? Are you shutting down? Are you giving up? Are you going to make a bet? If you're going to bet, what amount are you going to bet? And like, what are you thinking about in this spot when the action goes this way and it gets to you? Give me your thoughts. Tell me what you would do. I'll tell you what I did in the next episode. Excited to talk it through with you guys. Thanks for all of your engagement. And as a thank you, I want to give away a shirt. So, all right, we just had these printed. This is the extra medium skills shirt. So we don't just have regular medium skills here. We have extra medium skills. Let them know. And then on the back, it's got the nice cards and capital there. So I'm going to give this shirt away to one viewer who comments down below after this video is done. I will choose at random, and then I'll let you know in the comments. You can email me, and then I will get a shirt sent your way. Let me know what you do, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.